Today's video is brought to you by the progress I've seen in my art. Hi, I'm June and I like to paint with gouache. Today I'm painting yet another pomegranate, but in a style I think is more me. Also, you won't have to hear me struggling to say pomegranate for the next 10 minutes. Today, I want to chat with you for a bit. Well, a lot. My script is over 8 pages. I want to share with you the 5 reasons I think my painting wasn't improving. I got my first set of gouache paints at the start of 2021. It was a set of Reeves primary colors and they weren't the best quality, but being a beginner, I thought they were absolutely wonderful. I watched and read everything I could find on gouache before I started using them, and I still failed awfully. I had no idea how to blend, how much water to use, or how to layer, but I loved using my paints. I loved the matte finish and the feel of the dried paint, so I kept at it and eventually I started to get better. Now, I'm still very much a beginner, but I have gotten a lot better. My progress, however, wasn't linear. I didn't go from being absolute crap with gouache to painting pretty decently for my skill level. I did a lot of things that hindered my progress in painting. Here are the 5 reasons my painting wasn't improving. I want to add before that. Progress takes time. It takes patience and it takes working on it every chance you can. More than anything, it takes being kind to yourself when you slip up. Even though I am aware of all the things that are hindering my progress, I still have days or even weeks when I end up taking 2 steps back because life has caused me to delay my progress a bit. Be kind to yourself at these moments and know that it's a journey, not a race. There is no finish line when learning to paint. Just goals you will set and pass in your own time. It's good to know what goals you want to meet and what could possibly block your progress to these goals. I wanted to be able to paint well enough to paint the things I like to draw, but I wasn't painting. The pandemic was still going. We were in our 2nd or 3rd lockdown. I was still in college, and I was working full-time in a government-run pharmacy that provides free medication to citizens. I was worried for my daughters and my health. She was doing online school, but there was talk of students returning to the classrooms. And I worked in a pharmacy. I was having face-to-face contact with patients, many of whom were in defiance of the vaccine and mask mandates the government had put in place. I was stressed and tired every day. I made maybe 1 painting every other week when I'd have a weekend off and my daughter was by her dad. The paintings were ugly, and I often quit halfway because they didn't seem salvageable. I wasn't putting in any time to get any progress, and it really showed. My paintings were awful. If there wasn't an outline, it'd be indistinguishable. I really hated it. So I wasn't getting any practice in, but I did at least try to make the few paintings I did worth it. I tried to paint things I saw other artists painting in their videos. I had realized from the start that many of the videos and tutorials online that say they're for beginners really aren't for beginners. They expect you to have an intermediate knowledge of gouache painting, a master's degree, and 7 years painting with this medium. Not beginner friendly. But I tried them regardless because I had nowhere else to turn. I had no knowledge of how to perform the techniques I saw in these videos, but hell, I still tried, and my paintings turned out a hot mess. You know that saying that repetition with the expectation of different results is the definition of insanity? Turns out, I'm pretty darn sane. I searched the entirety of the net until I found videos, books, and blogs that taught me half or a quarter of a painting technique I wanted to know. Then, piece them together like a Frankenstein monster. Mind you, these were still not techniques for beginners, so I struggled with them. And because I struggled so much, I wasn't too keen to paint much. Back to my first problem. Another thing that deterred me a lot during my art journey is what artists call the ugly phase. I wasn't practicing and I had no idea how to get the results I desired. So whenever I'd hit this point in my painting, I got super frustrated and annoyed with myself because I wasn't skilled enough to avoid this, and later, after understanding that it is a part of the process, that I didn't have the skill to get past it. I scrapped a lot of work because of this. It made me hesitant to paint in my sketchbook because I'd see this ugly unfinished painting every time I skimmed through my sketchbooks. So, you guessed it. Back to my first problem. I didn't paint much. Eventually, I decided that I wasn't going to give up. And as you are watching this, you know I didn't. I kept pushing myself back to it every time. I painted everything I could find a tutorial on. It didn't take long for me to realize I wasn't retaining anything. I'd do a tutorial on painting glass, then a tutorial on painting smoke, then a tutorial on painting hands. Realistically, zero retention. I wasn't giving enough time and attention to any single subject. I wasn't focused on getting good painting anything before I bounced to the next beginner-friendly wash painting tutorial. So in a week, I'd go back and try to paint a hand, and I can get the flats and shadows down easy, but I had no idea how to paint it to look like a hand, which made no sense. I just did a tutorial last week and painted this perfect, beautiful hand that had smooth blending and little freckles, that painterly look that I love so much. And I'd scrap yet another ugly painting. I'd get discouraged, and then back where I started, I put my paints away. I'm a bit of a pack rat when it comes to paper. I save every bit of it, from shop receipts, slips and sticky notes I made notes on while filling prescriptions, and anything I doodle on or wrote a note about something I wanted to sketch. Every few weeks, I have to clean out my hoard, and while doing it, I often come across all those ugly paintings I never put in my sketchbooks for this exact reason. I throw them out. But they spark my creativity, and I start watching painting tutorials. And soon I've taken down my HIMI palette and started spraying it with water to rehydrate the paints. I kid you not when I say HIMI gouache is immortal. I'll start painting again. This time, I'll try to have more focus and push past the ugly phase, and at the end, I have a decent painting. I always only ever got a decent painting. It wasn't fair. I was practicing. I was painting almost every day. Why were my paintings still just decent? By now, with all the practice I'd put in, they should be perfect. After all, practice makes perfect, right? Right? Wrong. Practice does not make perfect. Even the most consistent painters are not perfect, but they are better for it. Some are even great. Consistent, focused practice makes for a better painting experience because you've built the necessary muscle memory to perform the techniques needed to paint your subject well enough. Seeking perfect strokes and blending made for a frustrating experience. The ugly phases were even uglier, and I didn't want to paint if it wasn't going to be Instagram worthy. By now, you've seen the pattern in my painting journey. In conclusion, I had to accept some harsh truths about myself and the medium I was trying to learn before I started to improve. Learning to paint is not easy, but I should still paint. Beginner-friendly art doesn't look good on a thumbnail, so try to read between the strokes. Painting the same finger 50 times does not mean that I'm slow. It means that I got 50 lessons to learn from. Ugly babies grow pretty with time and a decent skin routine. And my efforts aren't invalid because the painting isn't perfect. As humans, we will always see the ugly phase of every journey we take, and very rarely do we see the improvements we achieve, which is why we should set goals and occasionally step back to observe our progress. Be kind and acknowledge your improvements, however small, before you point out your failures. Look at what helped you to improve and what held you back from improving. What can you do to keep improving, and what can you do to remove the hindrances to your improvement? Each journey is different, so my roadblocks may not be yours, but I hope that my critical look at my journey might help you on your way to painting the things you like well. This brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.